What it do, what it do, how y'all feeling? Welcome, this is Ash Neil's Radio. I am your host, Ash Neil. That is I, so we talking to y'all. Yes, Piers Morgan had another panel discussing the Iran war. I don't know, day 25? Don't know, but we are a month into this war that was supposed to take a few days. I don't know, but he had Anna Kasparian on the show debating a couple Iranian women who are living other places. And of course, we all know, we get it. The Americans, we support regime change. And we support these women who decide to, in my opinion, be traitors to their country. But it's all right. We're going to go into this debate and give our 2 cents.
NATO and its member countries have refused to join the Iran war for very sound reasons. First and foremost, it's a defensive alliance. It was created to maintain peace, not create war. Second, by any reasonable definition, the Iran war is to many people an illegal one. If there was evidence of an imminent threat and a right to self-defense, we've yet to be presented with it. Many people in my country and across Europe are asking, why should our men and women risk their lives for a war that you began without coherently explaining why? The so-called paper tiger has been ready to support the United States on countless occasions. 13 countries mobilized after 9/11 and fought alongside the US for 20 years in Afghanistan. European allies supplied 30% of the airstrikes in the fight against ISIS. They share intelligence and assets all over the world. They were there in the Gulf War. They were even in the US after Hurricane Katrina. Trump is threatening to walk away and leave the global oil supply in chaos because he says the US has plenty of its own resources. Well, that would leave America's closest allies stranded, with the notable exception of Israel, which has no intention of ending hostilities anytime soon. It would also leave the Iranian people stranded. For all the talk of liberation and Trump to the rescue, they'll be living under the same regime, weakened but angrier than ever. Joining me to debate all this, attorney and Iranian-American activist Elica, Aaron Mate, the journalist with the Grey Zone, Iranian-Canadian activist and former MP Goldie Gamari, and Anna Kasparian, the host and executive producer of The Young Turks. Well, welcome to all of you. Elica, I honestly can't keep up with where we are with this war, other than I read somewhere today, I think Axios reported this, that one of the Trump administration has said Trump isn't playing 3D chess, he's playing 12D chess, and that he basically throws out all these contradictory things because he wants to keep the enemy guessing. Now, maybe that's true, but it might also be, I would offer up as an alternative theory, that he's got himself into something that he quickly has realised is not a good idea, but not because taking out the Iranian regime is not a sound idea in principle, or that they've been an appalling repressive regime, but not a good idea because the Iranians have hit back in a way I think that they've been taken by surprise by the scale of it, economically, by closing the Strait of Hormuz, by attacking the Gulf states, and that the combined effect of this has been a shuddering shock to the global economy. And so Trump wants out, and yet it's very difficult to see how he gets out with a convincing claim of victory. So those are the theories. What's your view?
Now, before she talked, I had a video that YouTube did not let spin. It's all right. But when we talk about laws in our country, right, we understand what happens when you don't follow the law, right? You either go to jail or, pay a fine, whatever it is. These women out here, you're going to see Elica and this one here, they, like you just heard, Piers Morgan said that they suffer from a regime that oppresses women. Well, they talk about the veil that they have to wear and all this, the hijab that is mandated. That is just a law. That's all it is. There's a law after the revolution that Iran put in place, the Ayatollah put in place, so that their women won't be Epstein victims. And that's just how their country runs. It is what it is. So you got these women up here to basically bash their country and say, hey, our country's messed up. They force women to cover their hair. That literally. And then they lie and say, oh, women are subject to death if they don't follow the rules. No, they just have to pay a fine. That's all it is. Or go to jail if you're a repeat offender. And if you're doing it because an American or a Westerner told you to do it, oh yeah, then the punishment is a little harsher.
And at the end of the day, my view from the very beginning, and still my view to this day, is that this operation, whatever it is, has to be seen through to the end, because the worst case scenario is that this war ends and the regime is still in power. That's worse than if the war never happened at all. And so in terms of what I'm here to do, or what Goldie is here to do, is represent, these sentiments of the Iranian people and how we feel about what these military strikes are doing, which are targeting an oppressive regime that, we all know has been oppressing the Iranian people for 47 years. In terms of the military strategy, that's not really within our purview. The only thing that we can do is trust that the United States government knows what it's doing and has an effective plan to remove this regime.
Okay, but explain this to me. I get that. But let me just ask you this. Donald Trump said yesterday that the mission of making it impossible for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon had now been achieved, which seems to be where he's edging now as the sort of totality justification for the action he took. But there's one problem, is that all the enriched uranium remains untouched underground in Iran. The capacity to develop that into a nuclear weapon remains exactly as it was before this war was started. So I don't understand how Donald Trump, or anybody, frankly, can claim that they have stopped Iran from being able to develop a nuclear weapon when all the tools they need remain exactly where they were before it started.
Well, that's the question that's on everybody's mind, right? The only thing that we've ever asked is for this war to go to completion and for this regime to be removed. It was never in our imagination that you would stop at the point that their nuclear capabilities were decapitated. We were told that the end of this war would be when this regime fell, that uncompromising surrender. That's the only ambition that we were ever told. So I don't know what to tell you about this falling short at just, well,
I'm going to bring the others in. I mean,
wow. Sounds like she doesn't like the war she ordered. So no, I wasn't expecting all of this. I thought y'all was just gonna go in there and change the regime so I can go home. I don't know about this talk about weapons and nuclear capabilities and all. No, I just want to go home. Woman, your hate for your country is showing, and it's not working. No matter how much we prop you up as somebody important, your propaganda is not working. We get it. You're a traitor. If I decided to rally against my government, American government, oh yeah, shit, they gonna try to take me out too. I would be exiled somewhere in Africa. I would, but I'm not stupid. As much as I disagree with my government, I wouldn't fucking allow any foreign nation to tell me this is what we're gonna do and we need your help. No, it's not a thing.
Anna Kasparian, that's really interesting because, Elica's reflecting there what so many people are thinking, which is the goalposts have changed so often. It was early on, this was going to be regime change. And they thought by decapitating the top of the regime, killing the Ayatollah and a lot of the top people, then naturally, and apparently this was what the Israelis told the Americans, there will be uprisings and the regime will topple. None of that has happened. So they've now moved, it seems to me, to a different...
Think about that. Man, the Israelis said that they were going to riot in the streets. And the Iranians, they're not rioting in the streets like we said that they would do. Bro, I'm going to do a video. And I'm going to show the contrast between what Trump told American citizens to do on January 6th and compare it to what Trump told the Iranian citizens to do this January 2026. Ah, shit.
Like game plan, which is actually what we meant all along, was degrading their military and stopping them building a nuke. They've done the first, that has to be accepted. They've massively degraded the Iranian military. but they've come nowhere near to stopping them developing a nuclear weapon if Iran chooses to, because the uranium is still there.
Unfortunately, you have two different countries that are involved in this effort to, I guess, either topple the regime in Iran, which isn't going to happen, or, degrade Iran's military capabilities and ability to build nuclear weapons. For the Israelis, it was never, ever about nuclear weapons. It was never about degrading Iran's military capabilities. It was always about regime change for them. But in order to build consent or manufacture consent among the American people for a war that we all knew was going to be a disaster, the American people were fed lies and all sorts of fear-mongering about how Iran is such a threat that we need to get involved and we need to disarm the Iranians. Okay, how is that working out for us? There was no strategic military plan in place. Elica is on the propaganda wing, and she's like, oh, I don't know, it's not my job to think about the military strategy. No, Elica, it is your job to think about military strategy because you're advocating for something that's going to get American soldiers killed. It's going to get innocent civilians killed. In fact, that's happening right now as we speak. And so you should ask yourself, is there really a reliable path here, a militaristic path that's going to secure what I personally want, which is regime change? And honestly, there isn't a path. There isn't a path. First of all, I don't have a path because I've analyzed the situation and realized that Iran has a formidable military and that we're going to put our soldiers in jeopardy by taking them over there. I didn't interrupt you, and you're interrupting me. Why are you interrupting me? Piers, are you going to intervene? Because she's interrupting me when I didn't interrupt her.
Yes, I think that's a fair comment. You shouldn't interrupt each other. We can't hear either of you when you do. So
that's true.
I appreciate it. It is important to ask yourself, as you're advocating for military action, whether or not that military action is going to secure the gains that you're advocating for. Right. And if you looked at the landscape, if you looked at the terrain in Iran, if you looked at what Iran is capable of doing, the fact that they control the Strait of Hormuz, you would think about all these elements before spouting off about getting the United States involved in a war that isn't going to secure what you think it's going to secure. There isn't going to be regime change in Iran. And by the way, I think it's disgusting that we are dragged into a war on behalf of a foreign country that does not plan to put any of their boots on the ground. Not a single IDF soldier is planning to be on the ground.
That's true. And it was brought up by Cenk, and I think he was talking to either Ben Ferguson or somebody. And Cenk said, yeah, what's up with the IDF? Why don't they go boots on the ground? What's wrong with that? Oh, if it was Ben, I think it was Ben. Ben said, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Wait, what? Like, what? How's that anti-Semitic? It almost seems like, I think it was Ben. It almost seemed like Ben felt that this war was not going to go as planned, and we may lose some servicemen and women. He just didn't want those servicemen and women to be American. So when Cenk just suggested it, oh, how dare you suggest the precious IDF to go and die for Israel. Shit.
Interesting point. Let me bring in Goldie Gamari. Welcome back to Uncensored, because it seems to me, look, I'm not a military expert, but a lot of my family have served at high level in the British military. And there is only one way to get that enriched uranium and therefore be sure that you can prevent Iran in the future developing a nuclear weapon, because they're very advanced as it is with this uranium. And the only way you can do it is with ground forces. The problem is it's incredibly dangerous, that operation, because of the terrain there, because of the way you would have to do it, because of the embedded defenses that the Iranians clearly have, the drones they have, and so on. This could very quickly, if America tried to do this, and I think it's perfectly reasonable, Vanna, to point out, so far there's no suggestion the IDF will join this, even though it's clear from Marco Rubio's own mouth that America went into this because the Israelis said, we're doing it with or without you. If it becomes a ground war, this could become very quickly disastrous. I mean, do you accept there's that risk here?
There's always a risk in everything that happens, but I mean, ultimately, we're dealing with the most powerful military in the world, the U.S. military. Their intelligence is top notch. President Trump himself has said that the reason that he decided to begin this as he calls it, an excursion into Iran.
Check out her background. Oh yeah, we're dealing with America and their military. They're tough military. So of course, these are all props. This is all for show. So of course, she's representing Iran, right? Gotta have the Iranian flag, right? Gotta have that above her head, right? Boom. America's helping, right? America's helping. Yes. But this Israel first situation. Mind you, this lady, her, right here, she stays in Canada. And she's Iranian who lives in Canada, who's touting the mighty force and intelligence of the United States. But she has an Israeli flag sitting right here. Tell us more, please.
It's not because of Israel, it's because he assessed the threats to the United States. And, obviously the commander-in-chief of the United States of America has way more intelligence information than, just random podcasters on YouTube. So, I trust President Trump. I trust his analysis. And Pete Hegseth has also said that the vast majority of the Islamic regime's ground forces, it has been destroyed. Their drones, their missiles, everything. So the only thing that's really left of the Islamic regime is just their paramilitary forces. In fact, they're so weak that they're now not only bringing militia groups from Iraq, but they're now actually conscripting 12-year-old children, which is a war crime. So the Islamic regime is now using children to fight.
Where's the proof? Where's the proof? I don't believe you. Even if they did. So what? Sorry, they're at war. Right? You forgot to mention the Russians. I heard some Russian troops, some very known Russian troops were saying, hey, we got your back. If, only if, America's dumb enough to put boots on the ground. So don't forget about that. You want to mention some 12-year-olds, but don't forget about them Russians.
That week. All right, look, let's take for a moment your premise that they've been almost obliterated, which I keep hearing. Okay, but from where I'm looking, the regime has not been displaced. I mean, Donald Trump this morning put out a new post on Truth Social saying Iran's new president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider when the Hormuz Strait is open, free and clear. Until then, we're blazing Iran into oblivion, or as they say, back to the Stone Ages. His usual hyperbolic rhetoric. But we don't know who he's talking about, by the way, because no one's come forward from the Iranian side to say, yes, that's me, and we are talking to the Americans.
And Piers, I think that's actually very funny because as far as we knew, the president was Pezeshkian. If President Trump is saying that there's a new president, right, does that mean Pezeshkian has been obliterated?
Well, that's why I said, we don't know who this guy is.
Look at that smile. Look at this smile on her face. They're talking about the president of Iran being obliterated, right? That's what she's smiling about, right? Mind you, I think they had an election, 2024. And that's when the president was elected. Not the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah, it's almost like in Britain, you got the royal family, right? Some monarch, right? But they have elections, right? They have different representatives, right? Keir Starmer. So if you're talking about an elected president of Iran was obliterated and it brings a smile to your face, that says a lot about you. But I've seen this video. Remember this smile, because this smile is going to age poorly when this smile comes.
is. We don't know that he's much less radicalized because we've no idea who it is, or that he's more intelligent than his predecessors. It could just be Trump playing games, trying to divide and rule with the IRGC. That's highly likely, I would think. And maybe that's an effective tactic. Maybe that's an effective tactic. We shall see. With all these things, once a war starts, it's very, very difficult to predict how this plays out. But what I would say about the strength of the American military is there's been an asymmetric war going on here. And I'll bring Aaron in here. The asymmetric war is that you've got the American and Israeli combined incredibly powerful military, the most powerful military we've ever seen in this planet, waging merry hell across the skies of Tehran. But at the same time, the Iranians, like I said earlier, very skillfully. And
that's some Western hubris. The greatest military we've ever seen. Emphasis on seen. Because everything's about framing, and PIERS is a professional. Because even Trump said, damn, we didn't know that Iran had them shits. We still don't know what China got, right? So what do you mean? Oh, we ain't seen it yet. We ain't seen what Russia was actually capable of, right? Right? We get it. But that hubris, it's like, it's America. It's Israel. No military better than them. All right.
And with great cunning, it has to be said, doing a very effective job in economically strangling the world through the Strait of Hormuz, and also strangling the economies of the Gulf states, its neighbors, by attacking refineries, by attacking tourist areas, and so on. This has been very effective. I think far more effective than the Americans and Israelis thought may happen. So you've got two wars going on here, and my guess is because of the pain that's happening at the gas station prices, food prices to come, because fertilizer's been shut and so on, you're going to see a lot of fallout from this all summer.
Sorry, I have to interject. I have 3 gardens in my home. 3. We don't use fertilizer. We don't. I stay in Vegas. Yeah. Hot Vegas. I have a lot of herbs. I have a lot of fruits. I have a lot of vegetables. 0 fertilizer. I think that's, I like to call everything boomers, but I think it's an outdated thought process of how food grows and what do you have to do to yield fruit. And I don't know. I think we need some new ideas, because if our fertilizer is coming from a hot zone, and we're struggling to obtain it, maybe we should try to grow food without shit. Just a thought.
You've got the midterm elections in America in November. Donald Trump is many things, but he's not politically stupid. He will know that they could take an absolute beating in the midterms and render him a lame duck if he doesn't do something to resolve where he is right now. I think he wants out, which is why he keeps about 2 to 3 weeks, I'm gone, and whatever. What do you feel?
I think his foremost concern right now is calming the markets. And that's why he keeps saying that he's having these great talks and they're getting somewhere and he's going to wrap this up really soon. I can't divine what's in his head anymore. I used to think he had smart political instincts, but I think going to war against Iran in a completely unjust, unprovoked fashion has blown up that impression for me. And there's a debate going on right now that we're having about whether or not the Trump-Netanyahu war in Iran is effective. I think we're missing a more fundamental question. Is it right? Is it just? And the fact that Iran is waging asymmetrical warfare underscores a really important point. It's the weaker party militarily, which underscores it's not a threat to anyone. Trump went to war because Iran acts as a deterrent to U.S. and Israeli hegemony in the region. That's not a threat to anyone's security. It's a threat to domination. And that's why Iran is being subjected to these attacks. And it's whether or not Trump can achieve his goals or not, it doesn't obscure the fact that it's fundamentally illegal. Under the standards of the Nuremberg trials, aggression is the supreme international crime. Right. That is what Trump undertook here. Even his own intelligence agencies
Look at her
affirmed a
smiling.
year ago, and this hasn't changed, then Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program. It limited its missile ranges. At best, they said
But
by
we do know,
2035.
but hang on that point, because we do know they were clearly lying about the capacity of their missiles, right? They fired a missile
What?
only last week, which went twice as far, a ballistic missile, twice as far as they had said that their missiles were capable of going. It actually, it didn't actually land on its target, but the distance it travelled would mean it could potentially get to Europe, it could get to London, to Paris, whatever. That is in direct contradiction to the undertakings Iran are given about the distances its missiles could go. So they've clearly been lying.
Wow, think about that. I got a question, Pierce. When was that missile produced? It's just a simple question. Do you know when that missile was produced? Was it produced after Trump tore up the nuclear deal? And he basically allowed Iran to do whatever the fuck they want to without any inspections and Western investigators. So maybe if it was produced after that, then who cares if it's not? I wouldn't even call it a lie. They don't have to tell us shit, right? You said earlier in this video that maybe Trump is playing 12-dimension chess and keeping the enemy thinking, unsure of what Americans are doing. Okay. Can the Iranians call that lying? Can they? We tried to negotiate with the Iranians twice and it ended up attacking them. Were we lying? But yes, the Western Hubers. Oh my God, we had the non-proliferating treaty set up in the JCPOA, and we were at least able to go see what they were producing out there, and we wrote down how many missiles they had, and they didn't have that many, and the capabilities of the ones that we seen, it couldn't go that far. So I think they're lying. Shut the fuck up. Y'all just scared. Yeah. Y'all thought these brown folks in sandals only had like camels and shit.
Well, not necessarily, because first of all, even NATO said we can't confirm that Iran fired that missile. So I'm not even sure that it was Iran. But let's say it was Iran. If it was Iran, then it's quite possible they put on.
Well, who else fired it?
Well, listen, I wouldn't put anything past Israel. They carry out all sorts of nefarious acts all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a false flag. But listen, let's assume it was Iran.
Well, hang on. Aaron, you're expecting me
You're
expecting me to believe that Israel deliberately fired a ballistic missile at an American base.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. Believe it or not, that has happened in the past.
Yeah, Israel decades ago attacked the USS Liberty, killed a bunch of U.S. soldiers. So actually, I wouldn't put it past them. But listen, let's assume it was Iran. Let's assume it was Iran. Just hold on a second. I'll just finish this point. Is it
possible?
It's impossible.
If it was Iran, if I can finish this point, it's possible they put a smaller payload on the missile, which means it can travel further. And regardless, look, this whole debate is skewed because Iran is defending itself against an act of unprovoked aggression, an act that is not targeting the quote-unquote regime. It's hitting schools. They massacred over 150 girls in the opening hours of this unprovoked war.
Oh, she said no. Look. She said, no, that didn't happen. Nope. We know that it happened. We seen it. We seen the Tomahawk missile dropping on the school with the same fins that the American Tomahawk missile has. So why are you... No. Come on now. It's not working.
They're hitting pharmaceutical plants that make medicines. That make medicines for Iranians.
On this point,
they're hitting residential buildings.
Yeah, but Aaron, the idea. Okay, but look, I have serious misgivings about this war and have done from the start. I do not think that Iran had an imminent capacity to have a nuclear weapon or to use one. I think that is nonsense. And also flies completely in the face of what we were told after the 12-day war last summer. We were told that whole capacity had been destroyed anyway.
Yeah.
And none of that makes any sense to me. But the idea that Iran had never provoked either Israel or the United States, I mean, that is also patently disingenuous because Iran for the last few decades has systematically waged a campaign of terror through the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and other proxies.
Decades. That's what he said. Piers just said that. He just said that. Where's the imminent? Because everybody else have a different opinion on the Houthis and Hezbollah and all of that, right? We get it, right? They're proxies of Iran, and they fund the Houthis over here and Hezbollah. Okay, yeah, hey, America funds Israel, don't we? So that whole proxy thing, they out here funding terror. What are we doing?
Against Israel. It's Ayatollah has led the chants of death to America, death to Americans. They have killed, I think, more Americans than any other nation in the world, right, in the last 47 years. So this idea that this has all happened out of nowhere, I just think is disingenuous.
Have they killed American citizens on American soil? That's my question, Piers. Because we all know what happened when we were Saddam's friend, right? And we funded Saddam, and we used Iraq to invade Iran or try to, right? We get it. We remember that. Some of us do. But I don't think all of us, because I think I was yesterday years old when I found this out. Did you guys know 3rd of July, 1988? Iran Air Flight 655. Did y'all hear about this? Did y'all? Because I didn't. The United States Navy shoots down an Iranian civilian airline flying in Iranian airspace, killing 290, including 66 children. America refused to apologize. In 1988. I was 4. At least I was going to be 4. I was 3. But, wow. Think about that. When I heard about this story, I started doing a little digging, and I'm like, wait a minute. We shot down a actual passenger plane with kids? And then the story was about, it seemed like the plane was descending and is becoming a threat to the Gulf countries and yada, yada, yada. Oh, no. The investigation concluded that the plane was still going up when it got hit. So, Piers, I don't know if you heard about this, but maybe that's where some of the Death to America chant came from. Because I know about Operation Boot, 1953. Your guy, Churchill.
I think the fundamental problem in the region is that you have an Israeli government that gives itself the right to displace the indigenous Palestinians, steal their land, and deny them a homeland. And Iran, on that question, has been far more accommodating than Israel and the U.S. have in terms of accepting the international framework for the Israel-Palestine issue. Iran has said that they would support the Arab Peace Initiative, which offered Israel full normalization if it allowed Palestinians to have a state in just 22% of historic Palestine. Iran has cooperated with the U.S. in the past. You mentioned earlier that Trump is turning his back on NATO, and NATO helped the U.S. in Afghanistan. So did Iran. Iran provided critical intelligence to the U.S. that helped the U.S. capture fighters from al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And that was blown up when George W. Bush gave the speech declaring Iran to be a part of the Axis of Evil. The U.S. Ambassador Ryan Crocker said that seriously undermined Iran's cooperation, which was very, very fruitful. And there have been so many more diplomatic initiatives since. Iran sent Bush a letter offering to resolve all these issues. Bush ignored it. There was the Iran nuclear deal, which even Trump's own administration certified that Iran was complying with.
And what about the slaughter? What about the slaughter of thousands of protesters, including many completely innocent civilians on the streets of Iran in January, for example? Because the noise from the left, I have to say, was pretty, I'm not accusing you and I don't know what you both said about it at the time. You can enlighten
They
me.
said nothing.
But there was a deafening.
I'll tell you what I said.
Well, hang on. There was a
Don't speak for me. Don't put words in my mouth.
You said it. No, I actually remember very well.
Sorry, I'm actually
You
talking.
You don't know what I had to say about it.
30,000 people were killed. I heard it from your mouth.
Okay.
There's no evidence that 30,000 people were killed. Show
No
me the
evidence.
evidence.
There
and
it
I'll
is.
admit that
There
I'm
it
wrong.
is.
But
I
How
have
many,
the
how many do you
evidence.
think were
where
killed?
is the evidence, Elica? Where's the
You want me
evidence?
to tell you?
What's
You
the
want me to tell
source?
you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can
Go
tell you
ahead.
the source. I can tell you the source because how quickly
ahead.
you believe a terrorist regime, but you don't believe
Just give me the
actual-
source. I don't need to
I'm going to tell you
spiel.
right
What's
now.
the
I'm going to tell
source?
you right now. Silence. And I'm going to tell you every single
Go ahead.
hospital in every single city in Iran gave a tally of how many corpses were in their beds. In total, that amounted to 36,500 people. And that didn't include the
What
people
is
that
your
were slaughtered
source?
in the street.
What source
I just
compiled
told
those
you,
numbers?
The hospitals. The hospitals.
Every hospital? Okay, so you
Every
yourself talked to
hospital
every
in
single
Iran.
hospital?
I saw the list. I saw the
What's
list
the
of every
source?
hospital with every
You saw
number.
the list.
Google it.
Who
Google
published
it.
the list?
Google it.
Who published
It's
the list?
everywhere.
Google
Human
it.
rights
Oh, it's everywhere.
organizations.
You should know
everywhere
the
it's
source. You
published.
should memorize that. If you're
But-
so
wait,
heated about
I'm
this
telling
issue.
you.
But, okay,
should
but you know
memorize
what's
that.
interesting? Okay, hang on. You know what's interesting, Anna? Yeah, you're having
Yes,
the
go ahead.
complete reverse. You're having the complete reverse.
No, I'm not.
Well,
I'm not.
okay. I'm
No.
going to
I'm not.
explain. We haven't
The
heard
New
my-
York Times just published a piece on
You
this
haven't
that I
heard
hope
my
you
question
read.
yet.
That I hope you read.
You haven't
Go
heard
ahead.
my question yet.
Right. You care about the deaths in Palestine, but
No,
you don't
no,
care about
not
the
that.
Yeah,
Iranian
that's
people.
exactly
I
what
do
it
care
is,
about the
Anna.
Iranian people. Unfortunately, they've
hang
been...
on. You got utterly
Go ahead.
enraged when people questioned the number of people who'd been killed in Gaza, rightly.
That's what she just said. Stupid. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you were about to say. And you're saying it. Now, I'm going to let you say it because I got my piece because I know exactly. Piers, you're disingenuous.
Because it turned out those numbers were broadly
Correct.
accurate, have now been admitted by Israel.
Exactly.
And yet here you are doing exactly what so many Israeli guests did on this show about the deaths in Gaza. You're just refusing to believe any of the numbers coming out of things. So my question for you would be, well, if it wasn't 30,000, then how many do you think were killed?
I don't know. I don't know
So
exactly
how do you know it
many
wasn't
people were killed.
30,000?
Hold on.
You don't know
Let
that.
me
Why are you
explain.
saying
hang on.
it happened?
Elica,
Sorry,
let me make
again,
my point.
Anna,
If you're going to
Anna,
ask a
Anna,
question, let me
Anna,
answer it.
Anna,
Let me answer
I am
the
moderating
question.
this. Anna,
I
so
know,
my
but
point
let me
being,
answer the
my
question.
point being,
Exactly.
the very question that I used to ask all the Israeli guests who would try and cast
I know.
aspersions.
I know.
We were there.
It's the same
Let me
question I put
explain
to you.
myself.
It's the same question to
Stop
you, which is
wasting
if you
time,
don't
Piers.
know, how do you know it wasn't 30,000? You
Okay,
don't.
let me explain it, okay?
You don't know.
No, Piers, let me explain it.
Fuck.
Okay, when it comes to Gaza, the Gaza Health Ministry, historically, you look at the history, they have historically been accurate and very careful when they publish death tolls. Okay, they're always confirmed. In fact, oftentimes they're an underestimate. So I know to trust the Gaza Health Ministry because of its history of publishing accurate data. In the case of Iran, we know a few things. We know because so many American former government officials and current government officials and the Israeli media were literally bragging about putting Mossad on the ground,
Yep.
arming people.
Yep.
And that's why so many of the law enforcement or police officers, security forces in Iran were also killed. Okay.
Yep.
There's a lot of disinformation coming out, and there are different sources publishing different information about the death toll, which is why I don't know. I have not found a source
Right,
that I
but
fully
you're-
trust
and yet you
that's
are-
giving me accurate data.
No, but Anna,
Yep.
Anna, again, I would use the same questioning I did to people about Gaza.
How many of them were killed by Mossad operatives? How many of them were
Exactly.
actually
No,
killed by the
I'm not
Israeli
asking you that.
government?
No, no.
Exactly.
I'm simply
Well,
saying.
She always do this shit. And she think it does something. She think this whole hand in the face, she think it's like making Anna point less valid. No, you just look stupid. So you mean to tell me, sweetheart, you are part of this so-called revolution, this Iranian revolution against the Ayatollah in the regime. You, and this one. You mean to tell me, because we all heard it. We heard that Mossad was on the ground. We heard that. We heard Trump say, hey, we are with you guys. When the bombs stop, you guys go. We heard. So you mean to tell me that when Anna says, how many of those people were killed by Mossad? You're like putting your hand in your face like that's impossible? So why the fuck were they there? What are they there? To hold up signs? Come on now. Let's be serious. I heard that they had snipers on the roof. Soon as one of the Iranian protesters would confront a police officer, a sniper would take the police officer out, and then all hell would break loose. You mean tell me y'all got some Iranian snipers out there that's just been some regular folks waiting to snipe at their government? Or do you think that was some intelligence coming into your country trying to do a coup? And then Piers, you're disingenuous because what you're doing, I just have to say this. I have to say this because Dr. Morandi said it, or Professor Morandi said it, however you want to call it. He said, Piers, who is keeping your show on air? Who? Because you have this minuscule way of critiquing the Israeli government, right? You're like, I have to straddle the fence because, you know, people thinking I'm pro-Israel when I was talking about the Gaza war, and now people think I'm anti-Israel when I realized that Anna wasn't lying about the death toll, right? But Piers, what you did in 2 occasions is believe Israel. That's what you did. You're accusing Anna of flip-flopping, having one way of thinking and then another way of thinking when it's on her side. No. Both of y'all, you, Piers, and Anna, y'all are consistent. She's consistent on trusting the numbers that came out from the Gaza Health Ministry that Israel used in the past. And she trusts the fact that Mossad said they were on the ground in Iran. You were sitting there saying, we don't know. We don't know how many people died in Palestine. We don't know how many people are dead in Gaza. We don't know. How are you going to keep saying it? How are you going to keep saying it? How are you going to keep saying it? That was you. You. And the only reason you kept saying that is because it was contrary to what the Israel stance was. But then later, when we found out that those numbers Anna was touting were correct, did you apologize? No. Because you're using that same, I guess, thought process to try to get her here. So if an investigation come out later that there was only 5,000, or I think the Iranian officials said it was about 3,000 to 5,000 people. If it's found out that 5,000 people were actually killed in Iran protests, and most of them were traitors, treasonous, are you going to come back and say, hey, my bad, Anna, you were right? Because you didn't do it when the Gaza Health Ministry numbers were used by the IDF recently. So yeah.
Simply saying once you've admitted you have no idea how many were killed, I find it extraordinary that you would be so emphatic in refuting the 30,000 number. You don't know.
You think 30,000 people were slaughtered in 1 week?
I think it could easily have happened from the scenes.
I don't.
Okay, you don't believe it. Okay, but
I don't believe it.
Given that you've admitted you don't know, you don't know. Let me come back to Elica. You know, I have noticed there has been I think there has been a double standard here from people on the left, who I respect, where they seem to care an awful lot more about Palestinians being killed in Gaza, which I also shared their care about.
No, you didn't.
And these protesters killed in Tehran at the start of the year. And it was deafening. It was deafening. And Hollywood was deafening by its silence too. And I just think that's another thing that is just wrong about this. It's intellectually dishonest to people, right? To pick and choose which
you know what's
innocent
dishonest, Piers? The fact that Iranians are getting killed right now.
Right.
Civilians are getting targeted right now.
Right.
This war began, with How many? 175 people getting slaughtered at an elementary school? Elica, you got anything to say about that? Do your people feel liberated?
Yeah, I do.
You don't live in Iran. You've never lived in Iran, and you have the audacity to talk about this as if it's the liberation of the Iranian people as they're getting killed, as their hospitals are being bombed, as healthcare workers are being killed. Disgusting.
Right.
Go ahead.
Let Elica respond.
Shut
Let
up.
Elica respond.
I'm not going to shut
When
up.
you talk about,
Well, you let her respond because
okay.
you asked me to stop her interrupting you. So I'm now saying to you,
Okay,
Anna,
go ahead, Elica.
let her speak.
Please go ahead.
When you talk about the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, you say their numbers have historically been accurate. Well, did they ever
You're
separate
disgusting.
civilians from Oh, good. Insults, that's good. Did they ever separate civilians from combatants? They didn't. And in the end, we discovered that that number did include many combatants, okay?
The idea
so that's
did.
Wow. She's making my point and Anna point for us. Elica, how many of those 30,000 or 5,000 Iranians were combatants? We don't know. Did the hospital bed say, hey, this was a Iranian who was persuaded by Mossad to take arms up against their government? Did they tell you the difference between the death in these hospitals? Who were civilians? Who were innocent officers? Who were just protecting the Iranian civilians? Who got killed by Iranians who got guns from Israel? Do we know the combatants in this January attack? We don't. So, continue. Make our point for us.
Actually, you know their numbers.
Correct. That's good.
83%
right?
civilians.
Okay, are you going to interrupt?
83%.
Are you going to interrupt? Actually, Hamas said that 50,000 of them were combatants. Regardless, you are quick to trust the Hamas-run health ministry, which just shows who you trust, right? Which is terrorist regimes. Second of all, you sat there just right now and said 178 school children were killed. First of all, you said nothing about the hundreds of children that were killed on January 8th and January 9th by the regime. And second of all, where did you get that number from? The only people who have confirmed that number is the regime. And that just goes to show.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
are you denying that 175 people were slaughtered in that school? Are you denying it?
Wow.
Are you denying it?
Let me finish my point.
Because you did deny
let me finish my point. Are you going to let me finish my point? There absolutely were children killed in that strike. How many? We don't know, because the only people who have confirmed it is the regime.
Yeah, but again, Elica, okay, well, now let me,
let me finish.
Let me jump in there, because you're now doing exactly, sorry.
No, I'm not. If you let me, Piers, if you let me finish my point,
we know how many children were killed. We know how many were at the school.
That's not what I'm saying. Piers, let me finish my point and you'll see what I'm saying, okay?
Let's hear it.
I'm not saying what's real and I'm not saying what's not real. Here is the point that I'm making. When the people, okay, tell you something, doctors, witnesses, eyewitnesses on the ground tell you something, okay, it is questioned. When the regime says something, it is believed. So what I'm saying is that I'm pointing out to the hypocrisy of how easily they believe regimes, which they might be true. It might be true.
Yeah, but you know, the trouble is, again, you're both basically casting doubt over.
She act like she had a point. No. Let me finish. Let me say it. Why you interrupting me? I just wanted to get this out. People believe the regime. that was your point? Stupid. Hey, yeah, we do. We kind of do. Sorry. You exile propagandists who, I guess Anna said you never lived in Iran, but you said you've been there a few times. You lived there a few times. It's not resonating. No, it's not. Sorry. We actually have internet. We can Google. We know what's been going on. We know about the Iranian conflict. We get it. You should give your people a round of applause for fighting off a superpower for over 47 years. That's what you should do. Your Iranian folks out there, they're not out here trying to be some Western model woman who needs to show her skin and her hair. They don't care like that. But for you to sit here and deny the fact that 130, 40, 50, 60, whatever the number is, of Iranian schoolgirls, like yourself at one time, had lost their lives due to a conflict caused by your rhetoric, you, and America bombs. You're like, nah, that's disputed. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, why y'all listening to the regime? So you mean to tell me that you talked to doctors and seen all the gurneys and heard about all the deaths, but you didn't hear about the Iranian girls? And you don't believe that that number's true? I see why you were hated by your countrymen and women.
But the death toll
It's
numbers...
not about casting doubt.
You're both
It's not
casting
about
doubt of the
casting
death toll
doubt.
numbers of the other side. And that's my point about
It's about
intellectual
showing who
dishonesty.
they
I don't
believe.
think it's honest to do that. I mean, in relation to the attack on the school, it's pretty obvious to anybody what has happened there.
We know that people were. We know
why. It used to be.
The point of how quickly they
let me
believed
finish
the
my
regime.
point, please. It used to be part of an IRGC compound. Then it was moved out several years ago to be just outside the compound. I suspect they clearly deliberately attacked the compound, and the missile was slightly off and hit the school and killed over 160, 70 young schoolgirls at school. It was a disgusting thing to happen, and what America should have done, what President Trump should have done, is just immediately had the investigation, concluded it immediately. They know if one of their missiles hit that school or not. They knew immediately. And they should just say, we made a terrible mistake. We were aiming for the compound next to it. We hit the school. Terrible things happen in war. Terrible mistakes happen in war. We are owning this mistake. I would respect any country that says that when that kind of thing happens enormously more than I respect the obfuscating and disingenuous bullshit we've heard about the attack on that school. Right?
Absolutely, but Piers, that's not the point. The point is that how quickly people run with numbers provided by a regime that historically does nothing but disseminate propaganda, and how quickly they question the words of the witnesses of people who have seen this massacre on the ground. That shows you who they defer to.
She really believed that we believe her. She's like, I told y'all, I talked to people on the ground. Stop listening to the regime. Okay.
And that is what's worrying.
Okay, let's just...
I'll make a point, Piers. The government published a list of people that it says were killed during those protests. If people think that list is false, what they can do is...
they're either alive or dead.
There has been...
You know what? They're either alive or dead. And it will be verified. And my guess is that many thousands were killed. Exactly how many thousands, I don't know. I'm intellectually honest enough to say I don't know, but I certainly, because I don't know, I'm not in a position to emphatically deny any figure because I don't know. Let's just turn. I want to turn to another. Hang on, listen, we're running out of time.
Because those numbers are ridiculous.
I want to turn.
There it is. There it is. There go that laugh from Anna that triggered this one. She asked her, why the fuck are you laughing? What is wrong with you? Why are you laughing? You, sweetheart, you were just laughing at the possibility of your president, not the Ayatollah. He's gone. Supposedly. You were just laughing at the idea that the Iranian president was obliterated. I think that was the word used. And it put a smile on your face. But when Anna smiles at the propaganda of what this dummy just said, I don't know if y'all heard her, but this dummy just said, Piers, Trump, the guy, the orange guy in the White House, Trump said, and he confirmed that it was 40,000 people. That made me laugh. Like, who the fuck? Bruh, you think we believe Trump? Really? Lady, come on. So Anna laughed at that because it was funny. Like, nobody believes Trump and his 40,000 fucking civilian number. And here this weirdo, you found that to be funny? We're talking about dead people. Yeah. The gig is up.
I want to
Those
turn
numbers
to,
are ridiculous.
I want to turn to another
Going from
issue.
30,000 to
Ridiculous.
40,000.
All right, we've done the ridiculous numbers.
Right.
Stop talking, please.
Because you're
I
anointed.
want to change the subject and bring Aaron in here. All right, Aaron, I want to talk about this extraordinary thing yesterday where Israel's parliament approved a law that would make the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians convicted of what they regard as deadly terror attacks. The legislation was pushed by the far right with Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister, its driving force. After the vote, and I found this particularly sickening, he was seen opening bottles of champagne and celebrating, posting on X, "We made history, we promised, we delivered." And, I just found this, I have to be honest, completely repellent. I find Ben-Gvir and Smodrich repellent anyway. I think they are unbelievably far right. I think they have dragged Israel into very dark places, this Israeli government. And I think that this is indicative of what I mean by that. The death penalty has existed but not been used in Israel for decades. They're bringing it back only for Palestinians who they deem guilty of terrorism. Some will have committed acts of terror. Others are furiously disputed by the Palestinian side. So it's an arguable point. And we'll have to see who they decide they're going to kill. Ben-Gvir and others were wearing nooses as badge lapels on their suit. It was sickening. But also, they're saying it won't apply to Israelis, right? So you won't have Israelis being killed under this new law in Israel because, of course, they're not going to convict any of their own for any act of terrorism, even though many other people view a lot of the behaviour by some of the more rogue elements of the IDF to be acts of terrorism. So there's a terrible double standard there, which and the way the Ben-Gvir and others have been celebrating it is sickening for anybody, right? Whoever you are. What's your view of this?
Yeah, and this is the government that working class American soldiers are being forced to die for. Nobody signed up to defend this fanatical Jewish supremacist state, but yet this is what people are being sent off to West Asia to defend and to die on behalf of. As Anna pointed out, the Israeli military won't even be sending its own ground forces if there is a ground invasion of Iran. Right. This is what the Israeli government is. People like to think there was maybe an earlier time when the Israeli government was more liberal and things have gone the wrong way. Well, when you found your country on ethnic cleansing, when you claim that there's a divine right to steal land from somebody else, when you establish an apartheid regime that privileges one group, Jews, over another, Palestinians, this is what is going to happen. This is the inevitable result of Zionism. And it's what so many people around the world now are waking up to as being just incompatible with any basic standards of humanity. But yet we're constantly told by all of our leaders that Israel is a top ally, they share our values. Well, these aren't my values, and these aren't the values, I think, of most decent-minded people. So what you're seeing now, I think, because of Israel's actions, and it's not just, it goes far beyond this measure. We've just seen more than 2 years of a mass murder campaign against the defenseless civilian population in Gaza, which is ongoing. And also you're seeing concurrent acts of terror every single day by Jewish settlers backed by Israeli soldiers in the occupied West Bank. People are waking up against this, and global opinion.
Yeah, look, I would agree with
Israel.
you. I would agree with you on the settler point. I think there's been some outrageous aggression by Israeli settlers against Palestinians in the last few months.
What? Oh, Piers. In the last few months, you know, I think Piers is getting ready to give a defense for October 7th. I think he is. I think he's about to. The settler violence has been going on for a very long time, Piers. What's going on? It's almost like when the Palestinians were screaming and crying and complaining about the settler violence and about being detained for no reasons or minor reasons for throwing rocks, what they're allowed to do according to the Geneva Convention. If you're occupied, you can defend yourself against your occupier. So none of those people should be locked up for throwing a rock. But you think all this is new? So when Palestinians are just like crying, and the UN wrote a whole piece about this was what 2023 was the deadliest year for the Palestinians, men, women, and children. You didn't know that, Piers? Either you knew it or you ignored it. We ignored it. American media ignored it. Hell, the UN ignored it. All they did was wrote a piece. So since everybody ignored it, guess what? Hamas didn't. They didn't. So October 7th basically was them showing us what's going on out there. That way people like you can finally open your fucking eyes. A little late. Still late. To this day, you're still fucking late. Oh, shit. This settler violence that's been going on for the last couple of months, I agree with you. Horrible. What? It's horrible? You agree? It's not been going on for a couple fucking months. So yeah, continue. Tell us why you feel that the violence in the West Bank is abhorrent. And I don't think you're going to, but tell us what should happen. What should be done about the the terrorism that's going on by Israelis in the West Bank?
I would take issue again just with the way you characterize the defenseless civilians in Gaza. Of course, they're surrounded by Hamas terrorists who committed one of the worst acts of terrorism in modern times on October the 7th and are still embedded all around civilians and have been from the start of this war. So they're not, if you're being honest again about what's happening in Gaza, they're not defenseless. I think it's gone way too far what's happened in Gaza. I think the initial defense I made of Israel's right to defend itself, its duty to defend itself and its population has been just desecrated by the scale of what has gone on there. And the fact they still won't let journalists in to verify what has gone on there says everything to me. It says they know what they've done does not live up to their claim to be the most moral army in the world.
Of course.
They've done stuff so bad, they won't let journalists in to look at it. And so, that's my view about it. But I think the idea that no one has been there armed in Gaza able to fire back. Obviously they have. That's what Hamas have been doing.
I didn't say they couldn't fire back. I said they can't defend themselves from one of the most sophisticated armies in the world, dropping 2,000-pound bombs on residential areas and destroying.
No, I get that. But the truth is that war went on for a long time because actually there was a lot coming back the other way too, right? So I agree with you. I don't disagree with your overall point. It's just language is quite important. Let me bring in.
I agree.
Let me bring in Goldie. I want to bring in Goldie on this point. Goldie, you can defend Israel's government, and so on. I hate the way people conflate the actions of the government with Israeli people or Jewish people. To me, it's a ridiculous thing to do. It's anti-Semitic to hold the Israeli government to account whether they're this right wing and doing such terrible things. When I looked at what Ben Gvir was doing there, right there, I think I posted this on X. This is despicable to see a senior government minister of any supposedly civilized country cracking the champagne open at the thought of killing people. Whatever your argument about the people that they're going to put to death, wearing nooses on the thing that they've gone back hundreds of years into the Wild West. This is wrong, isn't it? Can you condemn this?
No.
I mean, my understanding of this law is that it is limited to Palestinians and Hamas terrorists who were specifically involved in the October 7 attack. So this is based.
That's why I think these people are dumb. They have to be dumb. She don't know nothing about this law. She's just sitting there with her Israeli flag. Like, no, what I heard was this was only for the Hamas terrorists who were part of the October 7th attack. So, sweetheart, we get it. You're dumb. But some people who aren't dumb, we know that in between Gaza and the West Bank is the land that you support, Israel. When Hamas, who is not in the West Bank, when they did what they did, they stated the reasons for why they did what they did. They stated there was a lot of hostages. Yeah, hostages from the West Bank being snatched up and put into Israeli prisons, right? Detainment centers. Some of them call it concentration camps. I think so, because we have video of someone being sodomized. So it's not far-fetched to call it a concentration camp. But for you to say that this law is only delegated for the people who caused the October 7th attack, no, you're wrong. Those people are either dead or still hiding underneath the ground in Gaza. Gaza. Hey, stupid. Gaza. The majority of the prisoners that they are willing to hang, they're from the West Bank. Stupid. The kids that they said threw a rock at a soldier with a helmet and an AR-15 on his chest, that kid is subject to hanging because all they're going to do is say that kid engaged in terroristic activities. Not October 7th. Stupid. So yes, you want us to believe. Well, we have Gaza, Israel, West Bank. We have the attack happen basically at the Gaza border. You're telling us that Palestinians from the West Bank went all the way to the west side of Israel without being caught to commit this act? No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Hamas committed October 7th. Hamas. Not Palestinians in the West Bank. So either you just don't know or you're just fucking stupid.
Basically a law that's only for that particular incident. With respect to internal Israeli politics, I mean, I don't really comment on internal politics, not really my thing. I mean,
You do for Iran.
Video, so yeah, because I'm Iranian. Of course I comment on Iran. I'm Iranian.
Okay, well, you're not American.
What an
so why are you
idiotic
trying to drag
comment to
America
make.
into
Of course I
wars
comment
that
on
you
Iran.
want
Why
America to
wouldn't I?
fight?
Why are you commenting on Iran? You're not Iranian.
Okay, then how about you leave America out of it? You want to comment on Iran, that's fine, but demanding that American soldiers die on behalf of your little agenda is a little disrespectful, isn't it?
I think it's
Hey, we got a smile from Americans dying. Hey, Elica, how do you feel about that one?
absolutely insane that you think that I have anything to do with President Trump's decision to go in and destroy the Islamic regime. I think you're absolutely insane.
I mean, he takes counsel from the likes of Laura Loomer, so you never know. You never know.
I have nothing else.
I'd actually like to go back to someone who has things of substance to say real quick.
We'll come to you about this issue, but I just want to finish one point with Goldie. It's not true that this only applies to Palestinians who were involved in October the 7th. It doesn't. So that's not.
If that's the case, then I mean, as a former.
Hey, she left. She couldn't handle the heat. She couldn't handle the heat. Anna was fucking her up. These puppets that Westerners, our regime, they prop them up. They're like, look, listen to these people. They're the ones that's telling us that the people in their country are suffering. They can't even handle the heat when a couple facts come out. No. You're a protected class, lady. We are propping you up. We probably give you money to spew the bullshit that you spew and to pay for your stay in Canada. And Elica, I don't know where she's. I think she's in the UK or something. I don't know. But she's not in Iran. But yes, sorry, you couldn't handle the heat, so you left. Anna fucking y'all up. And Anna is Armenian, right? So yes, Anna could be over here, talk about the Armenian genocide, how the Turks did this, that, and the third, and all that. We need to go ahead and take over. No. she can see where right and wrong is. And she can call out the Turkish government for doing what they did. And I guess, now, after all those people, I guess conflict has ceased. Is there some Armenians who harbor some hate for the Turks? Maybe. Hey, maybe. Are they going to join forces with the IDF and Benjamin Netanyahu to take down the leader of Turkey? Erdogan? I think that's his name. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe. But Anna's like, that would be stupid, right? The Armenian genocide happened back then. I mean, no. So for these women to try to come up here and persuade Anna that we need to stick together and fight my regime because they are being mean to us women, right? Women. Anna's like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Both of y'all, shut the fuck up. That's how Anna coming. Anna came with that energy, boy. Yep.
Parliamentarian. I probably wouldn't be, sipping champagne and celebrating. I think, it's a very grave.
Well, especially a law that only applies to one ethnic group.
So, I mean, I would not.
Right, but it only applies to one ethnic group, right? I mean, how can that be remotely acceptable to anybody?
I'd have to go look at. I'd have to go look at that legislation. But ultimately, I mean, this is what they voted for. So it's their internal affairs and their sovereign state. And
yeah, and you know what? We're perfectly entitled to call it.
After what happened on October 7, I can see why there's a lot of passion around this situation.
Okay. Elica's dropped off. I don't know why. I wish people wouldn't do that, or at least say they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's technical issues. All right. I hope it was.
Technical issues.
May I jump in? Thank you, Piers.
Final point to you.
I appreciate that. So, look, in regard to that law that just passed in Israel, it isn't just the fact that it goes along with the existing apartheid state of Israel, where Palestinians are treated as subhumans. It's also the fact that Palestinians are tried in these kangaroo courts, basically military courts, that have a 96% conviction rate. And often these so-called admissions of guilt are secured under duress, under torture. And so a lot of innocent people are going to be hanged. And that's the whole point of the law that just passed. That's why the terrorists within the Knesset, the Ben Gavirs, the Bezalel Smotriches, they were celebrating specifically because of the fact that they know that they're going to have some legal path to justify the slaughter of more innocent Palestinian individuals. That's what's going on. And can we just have Aaron say one last thing? Because Aaron's reporting on what happened to a toddler, a Palestinian toddler, who was detained alongside his father in central Gaza is something that people really need to know about. Aaron, can you just briefly talk about that? Because I want people to know about what's going on.
Yeah, Piers.
Hannah, you're giving me too much credit because I haven't really done anything on this, but I do know the basic fact that there was a toddler seized in central Gaza along with his father, and he came back with burn marks. And the doctor says
the last report I saw about this. Sorry, the last thing I said was that was erroneous, that reporting, and it was denied, and then the verified reporting came back. I think that it was not true.
Well, shit, Mr. Morgan. Piers, you're guilty of doing what you accuse Anna of doing. Wait. Shh. That's not true. That's not true. We heard that was debunked. From who? Where's your source? And then the motherfucker said, I think. At least I could be wrong. I think that's what I heard. But before you start telling my viewers and all these people that some Palestinian kid was burnt up and tortured, I just want to put it out there that we found out that it was debunked. By who? Who's your source? Come on, Piers. What did Morandi say? Who keeps your show on air?
Okay, well, I haven't seen that, but what I saw was
we'll look into it.
I thought you looked into it.
Israel slaughtered thousands of Palestinians.
That's that British wipe of sweat. They use that one finger. Like, wait, I thought y'all looked into it. All right, what do you mean you're gonna look into it? You just literally try to debunk what he had to say about it, as if you did look into it. Now you're saying after this person basically said, I think it's Aaron, told Anna, don't give me too much credit because I didn't really look into it as much. This guy looked into it, or girl, and this is what they concluded. Piers, you haven't looked into shit. At least that's what you just said. So how are you going to debunk it? You have an agenda.
Children. The Washington Post actually
we're moving into a different.
has a list of.
Okay, we're moving
anyway,
into
so
a
I'm
different.
saying this is totally.
I wish you guys cared this much about
I don't want to. I don't want to move into other more general arguments about it.
What? She just said that. I wish you guys had this kind of care for Iranian children. Anna was just talking about the 100 and something schoolgirls. And Elica said, we don't know if that's true. Who don't care about Iranian girls or Iranian children? Come on, lady. And then for you to prove everybody's point. You're proving everybody's point. You don't care about Palestinian children. We literally, we already confess or express our condolences, right? To the Iranian children, right? We did. Now we're trying to express our condolences to this Palestinian child that was tortured, allegedly, right? Why you can't get out of your little fuck shit and have some sympathy? You're almost telling us, who cares? That's a Palestinian baby. You can't care about both? Really? It's hard for you to care about both? Ooh, you people. But hey, she smirked and everything. I wish you would care like this. Yeah. Oh, people.
They're getting slaughtered right now. They're getting slaughtered right now. They're getting slaughtered right now. Right now. Okay? Because of what you want. Because of what you want.
All right.
Because of what you want. You're disgusting.
You know what? Crazy. It shouldn't be mandatory that in the last 3 minutes of every uncensored debate, a member of the Young Turks team comes on. You all lose your shit. It is possible.
How can I not?
Well, it is possible to end on a more civilized manner.
Fuck that. She said something stupid.
Well, you have different opinions,
Different opinions.
That's why I get everybody on with different opinions. But we should never lose our basic sense of we shouldn't lose our sense of civility when we debate things, because that way madness lies. Next time. Anyway, it's always good to have you. Thank you to my panel. I appreciate it. And to
yes, Elica can handle it. But yeah, I just Piers, he's just very disingenuous, because it almost seems like you follow the Western narrative, no matter what it is, even if it's wrong. We hear you. We heard you about the Iraq war and all of that, how it was wrong and how you put out so many columns against the war and all that shit. But then I heard you say, why is Keir Starmer not helping Trump? Did you hear what Tony Blair said? That's you, Mr. Flip-Flopper. So we can't take you serious, bro. And I think, I'm going to wait, because I don't think you discuss in depth this situation about Mossad being on the ground in Iran. So, hey, do you want to do some due diligence? Why don't you take your team, investigate what Aaron said, I think that's his name, and do some actual fucking work and see if there was 30,000 killed in Iran. And if there was, how many were combatants?